Yeah. Hey, Butch and Danny and John and Bullock.
We are starting the work session for the city of Easley, council, mayor and council, September 14th at 5:30. This is just a work session, and I would like to ask for a volunteer to give our blessing over the food. Mr. Holcomb, would you do that?
I would be glad to. Please pray with me. Dear Lord, we just want to thank you today. We ask that you be with us during this meeting, Lord. Watch over us, give us guidance. Let us make the best decisions we can for the citizens of this great city we live in. Lord, I ask that you bless this food, use members of our bodies, buys our service. Amen.
Amen. We'll go to the second item on the agenda. That's the golf carts on the Doodle Trail, and I'll turn it over to Stephen to talk about it. Let me say one thing before we start. Is just note that Nancy is out tonight. She's sick, so if you can, keep her in your thoughts and prayers.
So just wanted to bring this to council's attention. The mayor, myself, have been working with our cohorts at City of Pickens to talk about this and figure out a way to allow elderly and disabled and those that normally would not be able to access the trail to have a way to use the Doodle Trail. We've done this 2 or 3 times in the past. Actually, the police department, we have a 6-person or 8-person golf cart and a couple gators. We've taken some groups up on the trail that are seniors up in age, up in the 80s, 90s, that normally would not be able to benefit from the trail or be able to get on it and enjoy the beauty of it from riding between here and Pickens, that actually probably rode the railroad whenever it was operational. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to be able to experience it. So we drafted this document, and the way it's set up, you have a copy of it in front of you, is it would allow people to use the Doodle Trail the first and third Wednesday only of each month, and it would be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., which is what we assume would be one of the lower times on the trail, just because it would be the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. We were hoping that would be the least used time. We would issue permits for that. They would have to come up, and we would want to issue them to groups, specifically those that are geared towards seniors, at-risk populations, those with disabilities that normally would not be, like I said, that normally could not get on a bike or walk or scooter or whatever it is down the trail that they would want to do, that you can use the trail for now. So the maximum we would be able to give would be 20 permits. And that way we can limit the number of people that are using it. If somebody is found out there without a permit using it, we can kick them off. We can ask them to leave. Our police have been out there. We ride up and down it in their Polaris once a day, a few times a week, to make sure that we're trying to enforce what's going on up there, and we'll continue to do so during these times to make sure it's not being abused. The policy does outline details about, how they get there, when they have to be off of it, how they can use it, the speed limit, and all that kind of stuff. So really, the mayor and I can answer any questions that council may have. I know Pickens has this on their agenda to discuss tonight, and our goal would be to run this as a 6-month pilot program that would start August 15th and run through the end of May, and that way we get a couple months in the fall, a couple months in the spring, kind of check this out. I don't think most people are going to want to go up and down it in January when it's raining or cold or something like that. So it really gives us about 4 months over the next 6 to see how it works and if it's worth continuing or not.
Well, I see you have it from October the 15th through May the 31st. So I see that as.
It should be 2021 if it doesn't say that. I see
okay.
my slide and I mistyped.
Okay,
so.
But so you're not going to do it during the summer? How do I?
Right now, we would just look to start it, and like I said, we're do like a 6-month pilot program to see how
Oh,
it
this is
goes.
For 6 months.
Right, it's 6.5 months or so, and if it works out well, then we would come back with Pickens and come back with a recommendation on whether to extend it, whether we need, if nobody's using it, maybe we make it 1 day a month, maybe we make it through reservations, we can figure out how to tweak it as we move forward, but the goal would be to do it as a pilot and see whether it works or how it's working, and if we need to tweak it moving forward.
How would we issue the permits from us, Pickens or both? Or?
They could come into each of the city halls and get a permit.
Or the police department, they'll be the ones, once we do it, it'll be an ordinance. Because right now, there's no ordinance in place to, so if they caught somebody on the trail right now on a golf cart, they can't really charge them. They can put them off of it and put them, no trespassing, but they can't charge them. But this would be an ordinance where they could charge them.
What do you do, Mayor, about them passing each other, coming from Pickens, coming to Easley?
So there's enough room for 2 carts to pass each other on there. And the way it's set up on there is the golf cart is required to give right of way to anybody else that's on the trail. So if there's bikers coming and they're coming up to pass somebody, they're there to stop and allow everybody to clear before they pass anybody. They're the person who will have the least amount of rights on the trail based on the way this is written.
You probably haven't been on it before when it's happened, but the sheriff's office actually has a golf cart that drives up and down the trail periodically. I mean, I know it because I did it when I was there. So we already have that one because I come all the way to Easley, the farmer's market, one day on it. The Pickens Police Department has a golf cart that they travel theirs on there and bring a fan of some sort and clean the leaves and stuff off of their side of it. Their police department does that. There's the police department here has a gator that goes up and down it. Our rec department has gators that go up and down it. So it's not, I mean, I know somebody tried to tell everybody that the asphalt wouldn't handle it. The asphalt's gonna handle it. The asphalt's not a problem. Now, if we took a car or something down through there, would be a problem. But I will tell you, we've had cars on it before because they had ambulance on it. We've had ambulance on it several times. So, people just tried to muddy the water a little bit because they didn't know what we were trying to accomplish. And what we're trying to accomplish is the elderly and handicapped. They don't get the opportunity to go up and down it like we do. And that's the only people we're trying to accomplish getting them up and down it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far does jurisdiction extend up the trail?
All the way to Pickett's.
Yeah. They're picking
We-
the same way.
Yeah, we kind of have a mutual agreement that, we normally ride halfway, they ride halfway, but if something happens a half mile, technically it's owned by both parties, so we can enforce, and the sheriff's office can as well because it's in the county.
I think the judge here can contest, the city of Pickens has made several drug charges on their trail, up on their end, yeah.
Would there be signage placed so that people would understand that?
We would need to, probably at the kiosk, at the entry points.
I really believe we need to make it
So,
perfectly obvious that you can't do it without a permit.
Right.
correct.
And number one, if you saw somebody on a golf cart by themselves, that's not somebody that's supposed to be there.
I understand I would, but the traveling public might or might not without some sort of warning or signage notification.
And that's why we went with just these times a day too, because
Yeah.
hopefully that's the time the kids are in school, so after 2 o'clock, then you're gonna probably see kids and families on it, which you won't see golf carts in.
Right. The other thing that was in the email that we got was a complaint about the motorized electric bicycles. Are we prohibiting those on the trail, or how are
We have
handling-
not. We actually, at one point in time, looked at we applied for a grant through AARP actually twice to try to buy a couple electric bicycles that could be used by seniors and those that don't have the ability to ride to actually be able to go on the trail. And they were not full electric. It's not like a moped. It's more of you pedal and it helps you set. It's an assisted, electric assisted. And it was a way to allow people, again, and the reason we went through AARP is it was geared towards seniors that may not be able to either have a bike or get on a bike and ride 4 or 5 miles up the trail. With the electric assisted, it would allow them to build their way back up to be able to do that, or to allow them just to do it in general. So the goal was always about getting access.
But they are allowed.
So long as they
If
are
we have-
not
yeah.
mopeds, scooters, or anything that is 100% electric, so long as they are electric assisted, they're okay. Because the goal for them is to help them keep their pace, because not everybody can go 16 miles round trip on a bike their first time they get on one. So some people use it as a way to help build their endurance, or just to be able to do it, period, because they may have a medical condition that doesn't allow it.
Thank you.
Now, granted, there is still a speed limit, and I think that was one thing that was mentioned. If they're going faster than the posted speed limit, that falls to the police if they see them out there. And again, we always encourage people, it's like with anything, we can't be everywhere at all times, is if you see somebody out there doing that, call the police. We've got the number posted for the police, sheriff's office, call them, and they'll get out, they can get out there and try to stop them.
Some of your best people on bicycles that go the Doodle Trail violate the law every time they go. They run every stop sign there's up there.
Yeah.
And go above the
seen
speed
that.
limit.
Friends that
I've
do
been
it.
Right.
sped past
Yeah.
a couple of times.
But yet, they're the ones
yes.
that's gonna complain.
That's right.
And my dog can't keep up with it.
Well, I'm a walker, and so I walk the trail often, so I agree with you totally. The bicyclists, they'll just blow the walkers away.
Yeah.
But
They're
this,
the ones that's complaining the most because they
Yeah.
don't want.
but this, it's well-written and well-proposed. I was apprehensive when at first blush, but it's put together well. It's highly restrictive, and that's important, very highly restrictive. You got to get a permit, and so that makes it restrictive, and, just a short window that you can do it in. So that's good. And the other thing especially is it's a collaborative effort with our friends, our partners up in Pickens too, so they're on
And
board
we'll
with
wait to
us.
see what their answer is tonight. If they aren't ready to move forward with it, then that would be something we would
Yeah.
want to hash out and see if there's any concerns they may have as well. We don't want to end up with something that not both parties agree to and are.
It's got to be consistent.
Some of those speedy bikers say they can go to Pickens and back in an hour and 5 minutes. Pedaling that thing.
Should be agreeing with Pickens.
Any other questions that you may have?
I'm good with that. So it's going to come up next meeting as a,
Well,
if it all comes
so
together?
this right now as proposed, what you have here is not drafted as a resolution or ordinance. The goal would be to do this as a pilot, and if everything goes well, then to bring back an ordinance
Okay.
that would set everything in place based on, because again, we don't want to sit here, because it takes 2 readings to amend an ordinance, is to come back with, and really the ordinance would be to allow us, like the mayor said, to charge somebody. It makes it law. And then more than likely, we'd probably have to put some penalties in there, reference our penalty section in our code if somebody was out there incorrectly. But this would really be a way to see whether it works or not before we go through the process of adopting, because you've got 2 months to adopt, 2 readings to adopt, and then 2 readings to amend if we need to amend it, so we'd only have a couple, 3 months in there to see how it's working before the pilot went away. So the goal right now would just kind of be, if council is good to run the pilot, we'll test it out, and if everything goes good, we'll come back with a final for adoption in the first of the year.
understand.
And the other, we may not have anybody that wants to do it. I think we will. I think we'll have somewhere like the Magnolias, that have some folks that are able to get out and do some things. I think those will be one of your first.
And they may reach out to us and ask us to take them, which may be what we find more of.
I think our 8-passenger, I think
Oh,
that'd be
yeah.
a very good use for that, to take some of our seniors out.
That's right. And they may want us to take them to, if they've got 5 or 6 of them, we might take them to Pickens and drop them off to eat somewhere, and then the bus go pick them up there, I don't,
Cool.
all kind of different
Be a good
scenarios.
excursion.
Yeah, yeah. And the same thing with Pickens. They may bring somebody down here, a group of them, drop them off at the little restaurant there beside it, and then the bus comes, picks them up. Gives them some options.
Yeah, I like it.
So by consensus, we're adopting this as our pilot program.
Yes, sir.
And suggestions, any kind of suggestions that you don't like about what's there, something that you have questions about or issues. Believe it or not, this has been kind of a work in progress for several months, and of course, like everything else, the COVID-19 slowed it down, so.
Yeah.
I think the month that everything got shut down was the month we were supposed to bring, I think we were trying to run the pilot from May to November. And as you can see, now we're looking from October to May.
Well, being retired, if we, and rather than using city employees, if they wanted to volunteer to take them, I'd be one of the ones more than happy to volunteer to do that.
Any other questions?
Good.
All right, we'll move on to number 3. The refunding of the 2009 bond. I'll turn over to Stephen.
So our bond counsel reached out about a week and a half ago and was looking over our debt portfolio and noticed that our 2009 GO bond that we financed when we did all the work out at the town center to raise the bridge over the railroad and redo some of those intersections over there. It was financed at an interest rate of 4.72% for 17 years. Right now, our average annual payment is about $160,000. Based on what we just financed and what she's seeing other GOs come in at, she feels that we could probably get that interest rate down to between about 1.75 and 2%, which would reduce our payment by about $20,000 per year, or about $140,000 over the remainder of the life of the loan. It'd still have a repayment date of April 2027. And then it would, and you can see on the right, it'd bring our annual payments down to about between $138,000 and $142,000 a year. Right now, they run between $158,000 and $163,000. So that's why I just use an average of about $160,000. Then right now, they're estimating the maximum the issuance cost would be around $20,000. Usually, that ends up being about 75% of that. They just have that buffer in there in case there's any unforeseen cost. So we'll still end up saving between about $120,000 to $130,000 over the life of the loan.
Who has that loan now?
Sir?
Who has that loan now?
Right now, I believe it's BB&T.
Will we go back to them, or just?
It depends on who the low bidder is. There is no prepayment penalty on it. So whoever ends up, right now they have it advertised for bid and accepting proposals back. And depending on how council votes tonight, they'll recommend whoever the lowest is for the next meeting for council to approve for second reading. And then we'll close within 2 or 3 days after that. And we'll pay the old one off. But the last time we did our last few bonds, BB&T have not won. We've had South State win a lease purchase, Bank of TR, a couple other people, but it's just whoever gives us the best rate.
Very good.
I'm really glad somebody was watching close and can save us this much money. That's good.
So, and most of our other ones have been issued since I've been here, so they're within about 5 years old. So I spoke to her about those as well, and she feels pretty good with those rates that it's not worth refinancing right now. But this one, she happened to pull it up and look at it and thought it'd be a good opportunity.
Very good.
Yep.
Good job.
Any more questions?
So that'll be first reading tonight. We'll have second reading next month if council approves tonight.
Next item on the agenda is accepting roads in Deer Meadows.
You want to talk about this in time?
Yes, sir. After several years, Deer Meadows got developed, and there's about 7, 8 lots left, and the developer kind of abandoned it. But most of you remember, the city of Easley paved the roads, and then we put a fee on any future homes that was coming there. They paid us, I think, $7,300 for each lot. So we've collected all the money and it got paid back to us 100%. And so the roads are in A1 condition. And I've gotten with Public Works, and the attorneys finally got us all the paperwork. So with your approval, the roads will become the city of Easley's property once we pass them, which will make the neighbors very happy. Yeah, we got Audubon Acres should be here next month. And then Meadow Ridge should be here next month or the month after. So we're getting, we're closing out, and then Crestgate should be very close. So we're getting very close on a bunch of roads fixing to be brought before y'all in the upcoming months. So just be prepared for that.
Where's Deer Meadows located? I'm not familiar with it.
Meadow Ridge Drive.
Deer Meadows, right up the road. You know where I live at? Right down the road on the left-hand side. The back 6 houses, I think, is in Anderson County.
That's why the parcels are cut off around that circle.
Yeah, around the circle right there.
County's GIS.
And so, yeah, part of it is, that's one of our subdivisions that is partially in Anderson County.
It's four homes in Anderson County. It's
Yes.
the only thing we got like that in the city of Easley.
We got one more over off of Mossy Smith.
Mossy Smith,
Turtle Track.
yeah.
Okay.
No, Bellstone, yeah.
When you
Bellstone's
get to the
like
very
that.
end, there's another 4 or so that's in
Yeah.
Anderson
Same way.
County as well.
Same way.
But we're going to maintain the road.
City, that is correct. It will belong to the city of Easley. That is correct. So, yes.
So how long are they good for?
Them roads,
Yeah.
there's no reason, no more than it's used on. I would say we'd get 15 years out of them or more.
And with the maintenance we've started with being able to seal crack and do that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, we'll try to stretch them out and do maintenance on them. That's one of the things we're working on for the winter is to find some of these roads to start doing this on so we can try to extend the life of them.
Yeah, it's already been 7 or 8 years since we paved them.
Okay.
When we
So
first paved them, so
20-year road when we,
that's always been my best estimate on them
Okay.
anyway, so, yeah.
Best case scenario, you pave everything every 20
Yeah,
years,
the-
but
the-
we're not on that schedule.
The good thing about that is that, you know, that's not a heavily trafficked, the people that live there is like myself, a little bit elderly that don't drive 100 miles an hour and tear things up, so.
And you don't
So-
drive
That's
fast,
right.
yes,
So-
right.
so I
think
should
we-
make that my goal to try to live to see that thing repaved again? Is that what you're saying?
That would be a good goal for me and you both.
Well, our garbage,
Stormwater is, yes, all the right of ways, everything's fine. The stormwater pond is the homeowner association. And so, yeah, we made sure that was not included, so. Don't want no more of them.
Any other questions?
Have they got a homeowners association?
That is correct, sir.
They have a homeowners
Very
association.
active, yes.
And I did put a note up there. It totals between all the loop and everything about 0.4 miles.
Is the loop in Anderson County?
Most of the loop is, but it still it still will be ours.
Even though it's in Anderson County, we
Still belongs to the city.
Yeah.
I think it would be very awkward for maintenance if we didn't accept the entire run of the road.
But it's the same way with the fire and police. The city
Right.
easily protects it. Now, EMS being a county service, there's been some issues there.
And I think the school district, I think they finally got that
Gotta
worked
go to
out too.
Anderson County. But as far as the city of Easley, whatever we serve for you, we serve for them.
And I just the way things are growing, I would not be surprised if more and more of the developments start heading towards that boundary over there where we'll cross in and see, you know, we're not the only city that deals with that. Greer's about half and half.
Greer's all over the
Clemson's and
place.
Anderson, I think it's actually in all 3 counties maybe. And so, I mean, the way we're growing and where the large lots of land are, you'll see more going that direction.
And Anderson County is very good to work for as far as collecting taxes. I mean, they've been perfect to work with. We had a meeting with them early on. It's been, as far as I know, it's been a great,
Yeah, it's
great
been,
relationship.
been smooth.
Sounds like a winner.
Number 4, project updates. I'll leave it up to Stephen or Tommy.
Well, I'll do the first one and turn it over to you. So, Tommy and I were talking, and we just wanted to kind of remind you of some upcoming things that the Planning Commission are going to be hearing over the next month, and one that's now delayed or canceled. Just wanted to give you some heads up. Others, the first is development impact fee. I just put a couple notes up there about the history. We've talked about that ad nauseum at the last meeting. If you go through and you have questions, I know Councilman Robinson, he's called with a couple. Let me know. I'll be more than glad to sit down with you, answer any questions that you have. But just as a reminder that between the Planning Commission and the Council, felt that there was not enough adequate public input at the previous Planning Commission meeting on July the 20th. So y'all have asked the Planning Commission to reconsider that. So they will do so next Monday, the 21st at 5:30 p.m. We'll be meeting in courtroom number 1 to allow some social distancing and allow some people to come in person that may want to speak. We will be trying to get people to limit the number of people that speak, to pick a spokesman and stuff like that, like we normally do for large issues, because we don't want 30, 40 people repeating everything over and over. But that meeting will be held next Monday at 5:30, and then it will be back to council with their recommendation next month.
Will the consultant be there?
He will not.
Virtual?
No, so the consultant's already presented to the Planning Commission. So really, the Planning Commission wanted this to have more public input. So I'll be there and I'll make a brief presentation like I did for council during the council meeting last month, and go over some of the details. And because, like I said, they've already that presentation's available to anybody, especially those that have called and asked for it. It's been on our website. We've tried to send it to anybody who's asked for it, because it is 90% research and data. The main thing, and the Planning Commission heard that, and after hearing the research and data, made the recommendation to send it up. The thing they felt that was lacking was being able to get adequate public input. So main reason we're doing it is for that, but I'll be making a presentation. I'll answer as many questions as I can, and if we need to get something from the consultant, I've got him on standby.
And we've given a presentation to the 2 or 3 that appear to be heading up, getting people to come back.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Youngblood being one of them, the Home Builders Association of
Bill,
Greenville
yeah,
was
Bill
another one, we
somebody.
gave them a copy.
And the
of it. So
realtors.
we try to disperse the content of it.
Gentleman on Highland Road, I can't think of his name, just doing those houses out there. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
He's highly
Kent
interested
knows
in.
him. What was the gentleman's name that come in that last council meeting that lives on Highland Road that you know?
Is it Bryant? He owned a heat and air conditioning place in Burke. He called me several times, he's really interested in it.
But we'll be there.
And we were talking about a lag in adoption and implementation. So that's another.
Which is a common practice. Most people do have a lag. Usually it's 6 months or some a year. It just depends on what council feels comfortable with. I spoke to Bluffton city administrator the other day, and they said they did one just for fire, but it went into place immediately because they were already behind on building fire stations. But most places I've spoken to, Mount Pleasant, Goose Creek, York, they all had between about a 6 month to a year delay between adoption and implementation.
And that would be so that those folks who are already in the process
That's right. That's why
Correct.
some of them were
and
so
have
concerned.
set their prices
Right.
would not be adversely affected by our action.
Correct. It would give them time it would hopefully be for the new ones that would be coming into the system and allow the majority of what's in the system to clear or at least begin.
If they began on one set of ordinances, then they would not have it changed in midstream. That's what I'm trying to say.
That would be part of what council would put into, that y'all would have to put into place.
I don't think there's no way to make every lot exception because,
Oh, no.
you know, you
No.
may have a subdivision with 150 lots,
But,
and a year later, they've got them all sold at 15. Well, those 15 may fall under this.
correct.
The new-
Now, if you've got a set of apartments and they pull all 240 of them, then they're done. If they pull it before the development impact fee would get into place.
Well, if they wanted to purchase their building permits earlier, then they could
Correct.
avoid it that way.
The only thing with that is they have 6 months
6 months.
to use them before they expire, so,
At least get started.
yeah. But we'll see what the planning commission comes back with. I just wanted to remind you that that's still hanging out there. If you haven't looked at it, if you have any questions, feel free to dial me up, call me, email me, let me know, come in, see me, and I'll be more than glad to walk you through.
I was looking at the package of materials over the weekend, and it is very complicated with lots of financial calculations in it.
I agree.
And I'm very busy at work and could hardly spare the time, and I don't want to give up a Saturday, but we could probably use a work session, a half-day work session to go over this proposal line by line, number by number, because there's a lot of material in there.
Yeah. Well, and I did what you did, but I didn't go in quite as much detail as you did, but it's, basically it was an interview from all of the department heads and looking at a wish list of things that they want, 10, 20, 30 years from now, and then coming up with a number, and then with that big number, backing into that number that would be the impact fee. So it's a complicated way to come up with that, whatever that number is. So I think that impact fee derives from our input, but I think that's a very negotiable fee in my opinion, Mr. Mayor.
Wouldn't it have to be spent over 3 years?
It has to begin within 3 years
Begin.
of collection. So.
But that does not have to be complete.
Correct. So, for example, if somebody paid the fee and we started receiving funds for the transportation side, we might begin doing a study of an intersection and then start the architectural review, the architectural design or the engineering design of it. And then, but that's begun the work within 3 years. The issue you run into with some of those is it may be an intersection that costs $2.5 million and we're dependent on GPATs to help us fund it, and they can't fund it for 5 years. But we've begun the work within 3. So yeah, but it has to start being expended within 3 years from the first dollar being collected for a project.
And the recommendation from the consultant was in terms of a maximum fee.
It is always the maximum fee that so by law, you have to determine what is your maximum fee under state law. It is up to council to determine what fee you adopt, but you just have to remember that what you adopt as part of that capital improvement plan is what you're also saying you're going to accomplish. If you don't have the funds from the development impact fee, you're still got to come up with the remaining funds to make it happen.
I've said this before, but I'd like some guidance on what might be a minimum fee or a middle fee.
So a minimum fee would be zero.
Simply the maximum.
Right. So a minimum fee would be zero. That's what we're charging now.
Right. But, some range, some guidance, low, medium, high would be helpful to me.
Well, what I used in my mind as a range is what taxes you would lose for 1 year. So if that house was built, you're only going to get X amount of money for the taxes on the house anyway. So that's the number I've been using in my mind.
As a low,
Basically as a low, yeah. In other words, if that house was built and we were fixing to charge $5,000 for it on the impact fee, but we're only gonna get 1,200 once it's
for
built.
property taxes,
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
that's one
That's what we're losing. Yeah.
The
That's a
first
good
year of the
method.
house is CO, we do not collect the taxes.
There's no
Right.
tax,
I
yeah.
think what the
Correct.
mayor's
Right.
getting at.
Yeah.
We don't collect them taxes, so his thought was that that be part of the impact fee is what we're losing out.
Just
And
a
then
rule of
designate that money for that, so.
one way to look at it.
Y'all probably don't remember, but I know it's been 15 years ago, we looked at this. Actually, I was the one brought it up fire station wise, and when Fox Simon was here, and it was killed. It was killed quick by the prior administration, but we had looked at it so we could recoup just the tax money that we were losing. I think it was when, I tell you what, I think it was when the industrial park was coming in. That's how far back it's been. Didn't make it.
Well, I want to listen to see what the developers and the realtors have to say about it. I'm very interested in their input, and I need to listen.
And I think,
Say no.
if not, I need to get with
Well,
Lisa
There may
to
be
be
more
sure
than
that we
just no.
advertise if the council is going to be there next Monday night.
yes, I think
Yeah.
she's already
Yeah.
taken care of
Okay,
that.
so
I
we
plan
can
on
have a
being
quorum
there.
there, so that's fine.
Notice already went out on all
Okay.
your meetings.
The only thing we're requiring is that a mask be wore
Yeah.
in that building. And that's part of the requirement with the law enforcement center anyway.
The only negative that anybody that's contacted me has said is that they don't want it implemented give them at least a year. They'd like to have a year so that they could get a lot of their projects that they have on the books and already have numbers down that each person's gonna pay, because the way they do it, and you already know all this, is a developer and a contractor, they split it. So if they're doing a subdivision right now, half of that impact fee's gotta be paid by the developer, and the other half's gotta be paid by the contractor, builder. So that's where they'd have a big fuss. So they said if we waited a year, we could pass it today, but wait a year for it to be implemented, then they would be prepared for that. Not happy, but they'd be prepared.
And I would say that was the plan all, not even necessarily a year, but to have a delay there. I think we were hoping to have it first of the year and then have it go into effect with the budget year, so it'd be 6 months or so. But yeah, it's been the recommendation has never been to adopt it day one, go full force day one.
Just wanted to bring you up to date. We had a meeting with a developer on some new apartments. It came before the planning commission. At that point, we pulled it. And myself and staff and Brian Garrison and Mario and all met with the developer. That should be coming to the planning commission probably in the October meeting. So that will be coming to you.
McAllister and Couch.
Yeah, McAllister and Couch Lane there. And it's going to be a little controversial because a lot of that is residential right there, R10. But it is also connected to GR2, which is what they're requesting. I just wanted y'all to be prepared if you get opportunity to go out there and look at that property and ride to the backside so you're kind of familiar with it when it does come to you. It's one of them deals again that it's an annexation. We either bring it in or we don't bring it in.
Unless we vote to, as I said to you on the phone, unless we
Yeah.
put a moratorium on apartments.
And Councilman Garrison has brought that up. We do have several, I think we got another one on here too we're going to show, apartments that are in the very early stages of negotiation and talks with us. And for some reason, the apartments are doing very well in Easley, South Carolina, so. But that is something that one of the council members has brought up. The only thing to remember on a moratorium is you got to have a goal on the moratorium and what we're going to be looking at to fix whatever the problem is. And so you might want to think about that. But
And I don't think it would be fair to that individual to annex the property and then all of a sudden put a moratorium on it.
Yeah, no,
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I would hope that if we're going to do that, we'd do it prior to, because once he starts the process, my feeling is that he should,
Right.
his thought is kind of like the impact fees.
Mhm.
You know, he's got something planned.
Seems to be a donut hole,
Yes, sir.
That is correct. Yes, it's,
strictly hypothetical, I guess they have sewer available.
they do. We had Joel Ledbetter here with us, and water, sewer, and electric is
What
available.
would happen, if the city said no on annexation?
Joe'll still give it to them.
Joel made it pretty clear that there wouldn't be no reason.
I realize that. So what about fire protection? What would they do?
They-
They still have Easley fire protection in that area right
We're
there. That's part of
providing
our
it now.
county.
And
We're
police?
providing.
They'd have sheriff's office.
So as a practical matter, how would that work? I don't think that would work very well, but
Yeah, no, I mean, we got that hit in several locations anyway.
Their 911
Uh,
call would be transferred to the
yeah.
sheriff's office.
Yeah, that's not an uncommon practice. Inside the city limits, we do have donut holes.
And
that
that's
does
one
that.
of the reasons that the municipal association every year makes it one of the priorities to have the state legislator pass a law that allows us to take, if it's, the number they usually use is 50 acres or less, and it's been completely surrounded by the city for, say, 5 years, to require them to come into the city because it creates such the confusion in providing services like that.
and sanitation, what do they do?
They would have to have private, even.
They would anyway.
Anyway, the city wouldn't provide trash if it's a multifamily residential.
Lots of practical questions,
And
considerations.
they could still use our parks. There's nothing that can stop them from using the parks.
Still use our roads, same traffic. You know, nothing changes.
We simply don't enjoy the tax base.
And don't enjoy the control of,
And I also don't know if the county limits number per acre on the
yeah, I'm not-
culvert.
yeah, I'm not sure on that either.
That'd be something we'd have to research into.
And also, we would lose that fee that combined utility charges per homeowner
Their impact fee.
that we get. Well, for us,
Oh, for us,
I'm
yes.
talking about.
Part of the business license
Yes.
fee, that is correct. And Fort Hill Natural Gas if they service it. We would not be entitled to that. So, all right. The next one is there on Rock Springs Road. It could be in addition to an apartment development that's already there, Shadowbrook. And so they're very early in negotiations with them. And but that is another one that is looking to, they will require some annexation. Some of it is already in, and some of it will have to be brought in. Not near the number of units that the other one is talking about, maybe not even 50% of it, but it will be large.
What were the number of units of the one off of-
The one on Couch, we estimated, 225, somewhere in that area. And then the other one, we're talking about maybe 100 or so. So, but nonetheless, it's still on, you know, on top of the junior high apartments, which would be 225 approximately, on top of the mill apartments, which is 124. Next to
And
the
the Walmart.
Kempton, Hamberley, the library. Another 60 there, behind Tractor Supply, 240. So we,
What's being built on Pearson, the one that?
townhomes,
This
townhomes, that is correct.
Now, there is one of those organizations behind EMS has put in for some of that.
Similar to the one across the Postville Terrace across the road.
That is
looking
correct.
for- They put in federal funding for the.
And Brushy Creek Road, where we
Brushy
annexed
Creek
in.
Road as well.
There's 3 of them total.
So, that's right.
Do we have any idea of what our current occupancy?
The one,
Amount is, rate is?
the one behind Walmart told me that they keep about a 96 to 97% occupancy, and that's at their choosing. They don't want to have 100%. They want to keep some empty, so if they have a flood one or something, they can move somebody and not have to put them in a motel. But they purposely keep whatever, 3, 6, whatever it is.
My understanding
open.
from the nicer apartment, the newer ones, are that there's waiting lists.
Yes, but the gentleman that owns the one next to Rock Springs Church, which is one of the newest ones, he said he's got a waiting list.
And
No
if you wanna
issues.
talk to somebody in the moving business, go talk to Mr. Bush down here. He'll tell you he's making tons of money off of us, 'cause U-Hauls, he can't keep them.
It's just, you know, it's just proof that people wanna be here. And,
That's
you
right.
know, and again, it's, go back to the development impact fee, those are people that we're gonna have to provide services for and facilities and, you know, like, one of the questions was, you know, did this say we needed to have another gym or another park? Well, you start adding in, you're talking close to 1,000 apartments, and you get another 15 to 2,000 people here,
You're
Another
gonna need
gym.
you're gonna
Yeah.
need more facilities, and that's, we created a level of service that reflects where we built Red O and Hope Field and 6 other parks and the Bagwell Gym and the Doodle Trail and Alley Brown, and if you wanna keep that same level of service as the population grows, there's a capital cost, so that's where the development impact fee.
Would
And-
that apply to multifamily,
Yes, sir.
the development impact?
That is correct, sir.
Would it
They're all
the
gonna be
same?
built before we
It's,
implement
it's,
it.
it's lower.
Might be.
It's per unit, so I wanna say that what was recommended to council was 3,200. And then the,
Per unit?
no, that's for a single family house.
Single-family
For a
residential.
residential and a multifamily unit, per unit in a multifamily unit was like 2,300, it was about $1,000 less per unit.
But
Because
there's,
it's based on the anticipated number of people per unit. And you anticipate less people in an apartment unit than you do in a single-family household, detached household unit.
and we're prohibited by state law from increasing our millage rate.
More than
More
CPI
than-
plus growth.
yeah. Right. So we're stymied that direction.
Tommy, did, Mr. Lerner, ever file an FRD?
He has not at this time, no, sir.
You anticipate him still being willing to do that?
Yes, sir. They are working on it. I've talked to their architects on a couple different occasions. And so they're just getting things in
I
order.
think that's our only shot to have any control. On buffers and such.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
This is the one that was pulled.
The Toyota of Easley had requested for some rezoning of 3 or 4 lots. The mayor and I met with them this morning at their request. They have requested to pull the rezonings at this time. So therefore, the meeting for the 28th of this month has been canceled. And at this time, there is no request for any rezoning in that area.
You want to share what
Can we
reason?
still discuss?
I'm sorry?
Can we still discuss this?
Yes, sir?
We wanted to put it on here just to let you, I had to change it this morning because we had it on here to let you know that it was gonna be heard, and then when they pulled their application, it was amended this morning to say that it's been pulled and will not be coming to you this
I'm
month.
assuming a problem with not being able to locate covenants for the neighborhood?
No, sir.
One thing to do with it?
I don't think that was it. I think they just are looking at some different way of doing things. And that will not require all of the rezoning at this time.
And were those, I know you and I discussed this.
Yes, sir.
Were those lots part of the lawsuit, original lawsuit?
they was all part of it.
Well, yeah.
I think out of all of them, there was found to be two
There's two that's not in the covenant.
that's not into covenants. And there was two found to be in at that time. Now, whether it's still in effect, I don't know. I talked to a resident the other day, and as I told her, even if they're in or out, my job is to take the request. My job is to set it up with the planning commission, and then my job is to bring to the planning commission what they voted on to the mayor and council.
And the other thing, and we met with Brian, Mayor Tommy and I met just in anticipation of being ready for whenever the planning commission did happen on this, is our zoning does not determine use. You can have something that is zoned commercial, like in downtown, and have residential in it. If somebody requests a zoning, a rezoning from us, that does not necessarily dictate that it's going to have the use that it's rezoned to. We have certain things that we have to follow by law that, as the planning commission and council, that when somebody submits something for a rezoning, we have to take it and provide consideration of it. We cannot deny a rezoning request for any reason. Like, when I say deny, I mean we can't, if somebody wants to bring us rezoning or
Deny the
annexation request, we
application.
can't tell them to take it home and not turn it in.
Right, it's the application.
We have to
can't
allow
deny.
them the process.
And if mayor and council rezones it, of course, the court can overrule that. And it could still be zoned residential, but if the court says they can't use it for that, then that has nothing to do with what we rezoned, so.
They seemed so adamant when I went out there and talked to, what's his name?
Tommy?
Mr. Norris,
Mr. Norris. They were so adamant about getting that done. He had went to such a long thing. What could be their plan to take that place?
That's up to them to decide. That, again, they just asked us to pull it, and it'll be up to them whether they resubmit it or not. It will not be the first time that we've had a request pulled, and it won't be the last, I'm sure.
If the applicant requests it to be pulled, is there a mandatory delay in reapplication?
No, ma'am. Only, for us, it's only if it is voted down. You have to wait a year before you can apply again, or you can redesign and apply for a different zoning. But you,
Something less restrictive?
restrictive, yes, ma'am. For example, we had some that did that for GR2, and did not work, so they came back and did a flexible review district instead, so that they could handle some of the questions that came up during the rezoning request.
All right.
Any more questions? If not, we'll go to the next item.
So I just want to give you an update on the operations and maintenance and fire station, like I do every month. So just to remind you what we're building, there's the ops and maintenance. The profiles from the sides, back, front, and all of that. So here's what we started with. Got our pad poured. Started putting steel up. Continuing. Starting to see framing. Starting to see more framing. And then if you look there, you can start seeing the concrete block walls going up in the back. And then from this one, you can start actually seeing the outline of all the rooms in the back where the shop, storage, mechanics, and all that are going to be. And then the big opening you see on the front there is going to be windows. That's going to be the training room and break room. It'll be a big open room that can be divided. So they're making progress there. The plumbers are in, the electricians are in, data is working. They're working on putting the roof. This one looks a little different because they can't put the roof on the steel building until the side metal is on, because the way it's set up is it overlaps that side metal. Just keep that in mind as you see the fire station building, because they're moving, their steel building looks a lot different. So again, as we go to the fire station, so that's what we're going towards. And then, That's turned sideways for some reason.
Yep.
There's your on 90-degree profiles. So, so here's where we started. Starting to move forward. Footings poured, pad poured. Can't remember if that's the first elevator shaft or the second one. I think it's the first one.
It's the one that had to come down.
Yeah. Starting to put the side steel up. You can see them moving across with the steel, and that's where we are as of today or Friday. So as you can see, their roof is on. You can see the second floor. They're starting to frame it and get the rebar in it so they can pour the pad on the second floor. I think they're looking to do that this week or maybe next week, and then you should start seeing framing going up, steel frame or studs going in this week or next week. And what we'll probably do is in about maybe a month is we'll schedule a time with the contractor so we can open it up for anybody, for council, department heads that may want to come on site and take a look.
Yes.
That way, once they start putting the framing up in here with the studs, you'll kind of start being able to see a little bit of the offices and see how everything's progressing and see the layout and everything. What you won't be able to see with the fire station is what they're going to do to the old bay. But this will be completed before that starts finalizing. But that's why I wanted to give you the preface that we can't put the roof on the other one just yet, because this one's going to have a roof in the second floor before the other one gets a roof. But they're progressing along well. We have had a couple budget amendments. We've added in parking at the fire station to give them about an additional, 60 or 70% parking, number of parking spaces. We've had to do some stormwater over at the ops and maintenance. We had some stuff wash out whenever we had a rain about a month ago, and that we've had to put in a couple other drainage inlets. And then there was one more we talked about. One of the value engineering things we did was to delay some of the items for the fuel island. And we're moving forward with putting some of those back in, because now that civil's complete, we're kind of seeing our risk being lowered for the contingency that we have hold. So we're continuing to slowly add some stuff back in. But just a reminder for those that weren't on council at the time, we started with a $14.5 million budget, and when we awarded it, we were down to about 9.2. So we ended up cutting about $5 million out of this project before it started construction. And there's still a whole bunch of items that are on hold that we're holding to see if we have enough contingency left over to add some stuff in. For example, one of them for the fire station is that pretty little front with the lit poles, and there's a little plaza that's supposed to be there. That's kind of all on hold right now. That was about a $40,000 cost that we put on delay that we'll add back in if we have cost available at the end. But we're holding some other stuff as well. But like I said, we'll schedule a time here in about 4 weeks and try to get everybody out maybe on a Friday morning that's nice, and let you walk through.
Good.
Stormwater.
You want to talk a little bit? I didn't put any pictures or anything. I figured you just talk.
That the Carson Phase 1, Carson Place, is completed, and we are out of that neighborhood
Brian over there.
for now. But Phase 2 is yet to come, and that'll probably be, we'll say, about a month.
Yep.
Month and a half, and we're currently working on Rock Springs Road, installing some drainage pipe down through there for a road widening,
Yeah, I saw that.
and that started today.
Yep.
We're anticipating 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about a month, we're saying about 4 weeks. Every utility on demand is right where we're doing the work, so it's almost scratch and claw.
You want to tell them about RIA and Dogwood and all that? Steve.
So as you know, we, beginning of the
a couple weeks ago, we closed down South Second Street due to safety concerns with school traffic exiting out of Getty's middle school. We put that into place, working with the police department. The closure went very well. We had very few incidents out there in the school district. All that went pretty well and without too much trouble. We closed that down, and we have filed, actually today, we hand-delivered the Rural Infrastructure Authority grant request for approximately $483,000. We should hear something back between October and November to see if we've been awarded any funds for that project. So we're currently waiting to see what happens with the RIA grant before proceeding with any plans to work on Dogwood and South Second until we kind of know what kind of budget we're working with there. So hopefully we'll have an answer to that and some more guidance on where we're gonna move forward with that. Once we have that information.
But that was 483 on South Second
That is for Dogwood and South Second.
for both.
We currently have been awarded $293,000 by CTC, and the difference for both projects would be the $483 that we are requesting from rural.
So it's,
Both of them were around 360, right? Somewhere around 360.
They were roughly around 380.
so is it 483 plus 293?
That's correct. That's the grant funds that we're seeking. We have been awarded the 293, and we're hoping to receive the rest. That should be it.
Next item is the budget update.
So just kind of wanted to give you an update on where we are for the budget in year of 1920. This is pre-audited. A little different than last month. Only difference is the 140 we were showing over last month. This mistake wasn't a mistake. It's there, but it was being held for the leaf truck that showed up. So that's why we had 140 in fund balance sitting there. So we ended up being within about $12,000 of budget for the year to date right now. We did budget $100,000 in use of fund balance for this year in the budget, but we did not have to use it. We only used about 12. I did want to remind that we did amend the budget to add over about $425,000 of new items over the year, one of which being Esther, which we will turn around and be leasing for the next year. Whenever we sell it, we'll recoup our funds back on that as well. So we ended up being pretty close to being in the black. One thing that we didn't do is we actually could have transferred more money from stormwater, but we didn't do so because we were afraid to rob that account just to balance this one, because of all the projects that are ongoing over there, and everything that we have, you know, that long list of 18 projects, about 1.7 million that we're trying to accomplish. We didn't feel it was worth going over there to take another 12,000, because we only moved about $50,000 over. We budget to move 90,000 over from there. So we didn't want to just take it from that fund to just to say that we finished at zero. I mean, we can, but there's too much going on in the stormwater, as you heard. We don't want to impact that fund. So the other thing I will point out is, as you can see, it's going to look like we spent $2 million over budget. That's not the case. That's our bond proceeds that we've used to build the operations and maintenance and fire station. So we've spent the bond proceeds. Last year it showed we were $5.5 million in revenue, excess revenues. That's because we bonded the GO bond, and now we're spending it for these projects. But when it comes down to the amount of cash that would have changed over the year within our bank account, will be within about $12,000 of where we started the year. And when the auditors come in, that may move up and down a few $1,000s, or just depending on what they find, or something that they may tell us to reclassify. So we'll see what their recommendations are. And they will be on site starting the last week of this month through the first week of October, and they will make their presentation on the audit to council at the November council meeting. But overall, with everything that happened with COVID,
$12,000 out of 17 million, that's pretty darn close.
well, like I said, with everything that happened with COVID and the unknown and all that, I think we weathered okay. Like I said, we budgeted to use $100,000 just to balance the budget at the beginning of the year, and when it came down, we put $425,000 extra in the budget, and we still finished pretty close. So.
Good job.
All right. And like I said, if you have any questions about it, Johnny or I will be more than glad to meet with you, go over any specific item. I know once the auditors get on site, they'll probably want to meet with I know they always want to meet with the mayor and I. They'll probably want to meet the finance committee. And then we'll have the audit for you in October. And like I said, the numbers may change. And then I turn it over.
Any more questions on that? No, if not, I think Kent wants the floor for.
Yeah, I hope to be brief, or if we can, but I want your input on, at our Public Works Committee meeting, we discussed a lot about the grass cuttings in subdivisions, about how the fine grass gets dumped on the edge of the yards and into the streets, and it's being sucked up by our trucks that come through there, and that gives us a lot of problems in maintenance of our trucks. Plus, that fine grass has a tendency to just get everywhere and into other people's yards, and it's quite a nuisance thing. And it's been pointed out sometimes that's best to just take that grass and mulch it back into the yard for the ecology of the yard too. So that's the brief, but I want some input from all of our council people to see if what actions we want to take. But I'd like to turn it over to Eddie to let's get a little more detail on this. Eddie and Justin.
Well, I went back and run some numbers on, I guess you could call on the usage of the vehicle. So if usually at this current time, we change the housing unit, the bearings and the shaft and the blades on that unit at a minimum of once a year. And most times it ends up being about twice. And this is just going back to the older truck, because with the new truck, I haven't had to run numbers on it as of yet because I don't know what the parts costs are yet. But when we do that, the price of the parts are $4,000. It usually takes a time period of 3 days by the time, because a lot of times they have to cut bearings off, they have to redo the shafts, and by the time that they get everything broken down and the truck put back together, I've got the fleet manager and the apprentice's time is tied up for 3 days to repair one of these. So that's about another $900 that you're looking at there. So when we started looking at some of the other areas on what they do, I spoke with Mr. Trotter from up at the city of Pickens today. They usually run their leaf trucks, he told me, from October through March. Now, they will pick up some grass if grass is mixed with the leaves, but he said they do not advertise grass pickup. But he said if it's there from those times, they will pick it up. The city of Clemson runs their vacuum trucks from October through February, whenever the end of the leaf season is. Now, they've got a chipper, grinder at a spot on, at Central Road. And what they told us is that their brush trucks pick that grass up with the boom, with the grappler. We can't do that because we take our goods to Pickens County. We're not doing that. I don't know what the difference is for what they're doing, but Pickens County would want ours to go to C&D. So they don't want it bagged. And that's what a lot of these other places do, like Fort Mill. They'll pick up leaves during the fall and winter season, but they have people place their grass in carts, and they're picked up by, I guess, garbage truck. Let's see, Greenville, I talked to them. They still try to pick up, but they say they have a hard time and more wear and tear on their trucks whenever it rains and the grass is wet. And that's usually what does the damage to the parts on what we replace. So that's the hard damage is to the inside of the unit themselves. Have I missed anything?
So Eddie, are you saying bagging the grass clippings is not an option for us and having that picked up?
Correct, because see, if we take it to Pickens, it has to be loose. It goes into the C&D, what they call construction demo.
I like the trash can better.
Still have to pick it up and dump it somehow.
Well, it'd go in the garbage then.
Well, then,
And then we're filling up our landfill with grass.
I mean, the whole idea of, yeah.
Had a big can full of wet grass, it's gonna be very heavy to lift. And I've noticed there's a lot of commercial people cutting grass, that's putting these grass clippings out on the road. You'll notice as many of them as you do homeowners, if not more.
Or technically, they're supposed to take their.
We're not supposed to pick that up.
They putting it out and we do.
They do. Well, you're talking about cutting people's individuals' yards. So, Ken,
Well,
is this something
yeah.
that we're gonna be, is there a proposal?
No, I'm not sure if I'm eliciting a proposal. I think we should consider not picking grass up in bulk like that. I think that would be, I think we should consider that, but I need to understand the ramifications of that, how that would impact our citizens. And I know it would help our maintenance of our equipment on that vacuum truck for sure.
There's a Public Works Committee, 7th of October, so it's one of those things that continues as discussion at the Public Works Committee meeting.
That's your committee.
And so it's a topic, so I think we've addressed it briefly last time, but I think we should come up with a proposal and come back to council and see what the consensus is. What's the best thing to do for our citizens?
One of the things that we did discuss during that committee meeting was now that we have a courtesy recycle center, we could now offer residents to bring it there where we could put it in a truck and transport it to and from the landfill without having to pick it up. It would just give them another option to do that, whereas before we didn't have that option. And I think that would give the residents an outlet if they did not want to mulch their grass.
Sure.
And I think we also mentioned that the contractors could bring theirs up there also.
Okay.
But one of the things
Comments, or-
with us picking,
And I'd like, you know, just like to impact this, but this is not, I don't think this is anywhere to that level, but, you know, it's unfortunate that we're still dealing with this COVID thing. You can't have citizens present or the ability to come in and speak before us, or during our meeting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because you know, I think it is gonna be important to hear their input on this as well, because I know, I can tell you, I can tell you right now, a handful of people not gonna be happy.
unpopular.
Yes, very.
Certainly.
I will
Yes.
say that currently, we cannot keep up the level of service that they would like to have. It's not possible for us to keep up.
No, not with the,
Not with this
Continued
budget.
growth, council would have to, provide us some resources so that we could continue the type of level of service that you would like to provide. Currently, we cannot do it.
and vehicle wise, we have a quote unquote one spare brush truck, which we're actually picking the brown goods up with on Thursday. If we have one of our units to go down, we've got to use a pieced together truck. So I really can't put that truck going out and picking grass up. But we're picking, per month right now, we're still anywhere between 75 to 80 tons more picking the brush and tonnage than we were at this time last year. I mean, there's brush everywhere. Everybody's still cutting. But we picked up 95 tons of grass last month.
Or
That's
brush.
grass, 95 tons of grass. We had 511 tons of brush,
Tons
of grass clippings.
Clippings?
Yes, sir. 103 the month before.
Is there some alternative, some middle ground? I think the new recycling center has worked very well, or it has for me. Is there?
And that's what we were talking about, giving the opportunity for even the contractors and the public. And we would stage a place for them to bring grass up here.
But then I'd have to
They'd
dump
have
my grass clippings, and I don't.
But we would do something, yeah, we would figure out a way to do that. Because in the long run, I would still have to use that truck that I'm telling you about with the grappler loader to load it up.
That's what I'm gonna say. I'd have to put it in my recycling bin and put it in my car. and
Or
drive
hook
to-
your trailer up to your car and,
Let's get a
Or put it in
pickup
a
truck.
trash bag and bring it and then dump it.
yes,
So,
yes.
you know,
It happens every day at the county recycling stations. People bring their grass clippings up every day. If we can, we take a 5-minute break, please.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, before you break, I'd like to mention something for y'all that don't know it. My nephew, Joey Duncan, that we're all familiar with, Lane used to be his partner. He's the deputy sheriff of Oconee County now. He was working last night, second shift near Seneca. Started to make a turn to go answer a call. He turned his signal and everything on to make the turn. Car behind him stopped. Car behind that car stopped. Third car was a DUI. The lady fell out and passed all the cars and T-boned Joey right in the driver's door. Put him in the Oconee ER for several hours. Done some damage to rotary cup. The bags on the vehicle blew open, blew him against a computer and stuff, and hurt his leg. He's very blue from hitting the console. His back is hurt. He really took a good hard lick. They did charge a girl, my understanding, with felony DUI of drugs.
Wow.
Pass me. I won't push out.